Hello, here we are. Sorry, once again with Mookie Tenembaum, we are exploring through these videos his philosophy, his disillusionism, and in particular the misalgic theory about human behavior as always a way of averting suffering. And as many of you already know, for a while now, week after week, we've been trying to apply some of these concepts to everyday life, to current affairs, so as to illustrate and better understand the theory, the philosophy. And today we are going to discuss a topic that, strangely enough, we haven't covered yet. It's a very prevalent sort of suffering in our societies, I think, which is the problem of debt, of being in debt, of owing not only money, but also immaterial stuff that we feel we owe others. And we are going to try and focus on that, of course, from a misalgic, from a disillusionist point of view.
Well, as you said, first of all, I have to make a small, I would say, to make it clear. The word debt to me is very hard to pronounce because it has D-E-B-T, and I would say naturally debt, but doesn't sound good. So I got debt, but I still feel that I'm not pronouncing the word. So now if I said debt and you don't understand, just please forgive my English. It's really hard for me to pronounce that word. You use the word to owe. Yes. To owe it's an obligation. Yes? That means I am obliged to do something. In this case, we're talking about money, and there are two parts: the debtor and the lender. Yes, those are the two sides. When we talk about money, debt is a situation in which, for some reason, you decide to take a certain amount of money that you need or you want to use from another party. And when I say another party, there are different kinds of parties, and whoever is the one on the lending side, that is going to be very crucial to how much I will suffer, or what are the chances of me from suffering. So if the debt is to my brother who is very rich, no, it's not the same. That is the debt to an employee I have, and it's all his savings. Or it's not the same if it is the government, the bank, or la Cosa Nostra, or the mafia.
Yes, of course.
It is obvious that if you owe to the mafia, probably you have a higher chance of suffering during and after, sometimes after. So, but it's still a debt. I mean, this is very important. You know, there are countries where debt is an honorable thing. You know, a very good example is China and Japan, both countries. Owing money is sacred. Sacred is as sacred as if you don't pay is almost like murdering somebody. It's like maiming somebody. It's very, very big. It is very the situation of a debtor in China is different from a situation of debtor in Argentina or in Romania or in Spain, whatever. Because why?
It's not a taboo in our culture to default on a debt. Clearly.
In Argentina, very much not so. But it's the way it is. Everybody now. When you're in Argentina, you know the rules. Those are the rules. If you lend money, that's the reason. Rates of interest are higher. It's very simple. The riskier the proposition, the more expensive it's going to be. And so this is what I wanted to say about debt, because the other video that we did on lending money, I was talking to a lender. There was only one kind of lender, and there is really two kinds of people or three that you can lend to. One could be a family member, that's a special kind of debt. A normal person, and somebody who doesn't pay their debts. Those are the three chances, but that's it. But from the side of the lender, let me remind you, the lender is not obligated to lend. It's and in the side of the borrower, probably that the freedom of choice is limited. This is one thing, but what I wanted to explain is that debt is today a form of savings. If I buy something and I pay in installments, I get the thing and then I pay in installments. Is exactly the other way around of saving every month until I have the money to buy the television. So I decided to buy television. I save money for during a year and then I buy a television. That's how it used to be. Not anymore. Now it's the other way around. Now you first buy the television, you get, and you pay every month. What are the advantages of disadvantages? Well, on the second one, the one that we're living in, allows to a much bigger amount of money to be lent. The society is all built on that. And of course, the economy booms around it, yes, because there is a lot of money movement, a lot of liquidity in the market. But but on the other hand, once you take a debt, it's over. I mean, you have zero decisions. It's to pay or not to pay. You don't have any leeway, and you already have the television. You cannot change your mind. You know something? I didn't want the television. I wanted the air conditioning. Sorry, sir. Air conditioning is a new installment plan. It's not, you cannot exchange it. But if I have money and I have saved, and after a year I decide it's not television what I want, or somebody gave me television, or for some reason I don't want a television, I'm not stuck with the television. I can decide what to do with the money. Maybe save it further and so forth. That freedom to do that, it is true that from the side of the human beings, there is more chances to suffer, because then you have to make a decision, a new one. And decision making, we talked about it many times. Decision making opens the door to problems. But when you pay in installments, most of the cases, in the great majority, the fantastic thing about it is that you don't suffer because you sleepwalk. You never see the money. The money goes from your employer to the account, and from the account to I don't know, Radio Shack, whoever sends. I think Radio Shack never sold television. Doesn't matter. Best Buy goes to Best Buy, or even to the banker of Best Buy. So that's the whole thing. In fact, the business of lending, yes, is the central business when you're buying a television. It's not the TV; it's the lending that makes it work. So it's two business eating from the same fountain. What do you say, Florence?
I think it's an interesting analysis of its own to think how our societies somehow evolved from savings to money lending, and how we are all now somehow in debt. And this is no longer a problem. It's no longer you got me there with the description of the Japanese and the Chinese who had borrowed money and saw this as a debt beyond the economical side, as a debt of honor in some way. And I don't know if he can sleepwalk with that. We certainly sleepwalk with all our installments and all the financial circuits around us. Still, the question of freedom and servitude is an interesting one for me. To some degree, being indebted, to some degree, owing money, and not only money, is a form of servitude. It's a form of, I don't want to say slavery, that's too much, but
in fact, you say to service a debt. It's a common way to say in English.
So I guess my question is, at some point, aren't our societies in which debt is more prevalent and savings tend to disappear, in some sense more subdued, more easily controlled than these traditional societies you were describing?
Well, we talked about docility last time. You remember when we talked about the 2 weeks ago about sapiens, Homo or sapiens. We talk about the docility, and of course, people in debt are much less prone to have whims. because they are very busy trying to serve their debt. What for governments, having a docile population is ideal. I mean, the guy with the sandwich is so happy that when he says something, nobody doubts it, and that's it, and they do it, and so he can go and then have a great weekend. When you don't have that, when you have people, with ideas, but when you have saddled with that, like you're a horse, it's really heavy. But the truth is, as I said, that 95% of the debts go into the category I told you, the sleepwalk. It's just, but those are money debts. When we're talking about moral debts, and not only the morality of paying your loan, like the Chinese. I'm talking about a moral debt. Somebody do you a favor. Somebody helped you in a way when you need it. You owe him a favor, or you owe him your loyalty, or you owe him whatever. The word owing explains the relationship in which I don't have too much choice, and it because I already took that debt. It happened to me, and now I have to repay it somehow. Now there is no money involved here. The great thing about money, Florencio, is that it's quantificable, countable. You can count it. How do you do it a favor? Somebody help your son to enter Ivy League university. How much you owe him? What do you owe him? Help him, his son, to get to an Ivy League university? No. So now you are. It is also true that people don't go around having it in their brain all the time. I have to give it back. In fact, when you say I owe you, it means that when he will ask, you'll pay. In fact, that permits you to sleepwalk. Okay, don't worry. You just wake me up. Imagine you're sleeping, yes, and you're waiting for a messenger. When the messenger comes, wake me up. And they wake you up. Exactly the same thing. He says, "Sir, I have a problem. I have a son who does not want to go to a good university. Convince him. It doesn't matter. But most of our relationship with our egosphere, those 20, 30 people who surround us, are in that kind of relationship. But then you can have a debt to the church. You can have a debt to God. You can have a debt to the country. You can have a blood debt. Yes. You will go to the army and defend the country because you owe it to the country. The word obligation, they are all the same word. If you go to a thesaurus, all those words will appear one with the other. And the problem is, if you feel you are a debtor, you see, you can go bankrupt if you don't have enough money to pay a debt. What about the bankrupt in front of people who do you a favor? Is there a bankruptcy? No. There is no clean slate and begin again. Oh, no. Of course there is. Of course, at the end it happens. But from the side of the guy who has the debt, it's not how it feels. Sometimes other people take that and they just don't care. They are free riders.
It's as you spoke, I was thinking about many expressions. You can actually say, I've heard it said many times, he's morally bankrupt, right? There is a way, a sort of moral default, and we owe debts of gratitude. You owe him your respect. I think even your love, when you are speaking about family relationships, for instance. So I can see how this goes far beyond money. And as you said, it's very difficult to keep count once you depart the financial, the economic sphere.
Yes, well, when you owe people favors and you owe them your love, you owe them whatever you owe them. As I say, the problem is in the quantification of it. You cannot quantify it. But think about it. I think that ethics, in general, the concept of ethics, it's a catalog of debts. Your obligations under any ethical rule, it's a debt. It's a debt that you have to pay it at some point in time, in any moment. But if not, and what is, and this is important, if I owe money and I don't pay, I will have to deal with the wrath, legal wrath, judicial wrath, if it's not the mafia, of the other person. That's this is it. I mean, it's that person owing you the money. But when you have a moral debt, not the other person will persecute you. You're moral conscious. You'll get guilt. Guilt is the punishment for not servicing a debt correctly. Which one? A moral one.
In the end, we are almost out of time already. I'm sorry, but in the end, I think it comes down to the basic alternative of being able to sleepwalk or having to suffer. And when we feel indebted, I think what matters is that in any form of moral, economic, financial, personal, public debt, what happens is that we cannot sleepwalk because we are suffering. We are somehow being pressed by that sense of owing something to someone, even if it's a moral obligation with an illusion, with a religion or a god or a state, right?
Right. What you're saying is what we've been saying for the last year and a half, explaining disillusionism, is that sleepwalking is the most common and the most effective way of not suffering. The defect of sleepwalking is that you're not conscious of being sleepwalking. In fact, you are not conscious to anything. You are just sleepwalking. Yes? But a debt can wake you up. As well as you can sleep. Think about it. You have a son who wanted the television. I want the television, I want the television, I want the television, I want the television, I want the television. And then you feel you are in debt with your son. You go, you buy yourself a television, and now you owe the money. But it's not the same. This one did not let you sleep because your child says, we don't have a television, all my friends have televisions.
The installment, you can sleepwalk with them.
The installment, you can sleepwalk with them.
I like it. Very good. Mookie, we'll carry on next time. Thank you very much. See you.
Bye.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.